Hey, Rhea. Everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi there. Okay. No, Barb's not gonna make it, I'm pretty sure. So who else
She
are
may
we?
be able to join us, but Andrew will be leading us this evening. But she'll jump in if she can.
Okay. Looks like you just. Which Steve is that? Is that Steve Carell or Roundtree? Let's see. Steve Carell. Hi,
I
Steve.
believe it's Steve Crow. I don't believe Steve Roundtree will be joining us. I believe he's the only one that will not be joining us this evening, other than Barb, who will be in and out potentially.
Okay. So looks like we've got quorum. Yes.
Yep.
Call the meeting to order. I want to call the meeting to order and do a roll call.
Yep. I will
So
do the roll call.
awesome. Thanks.
We're calling the meeting to order at 6:01. And Steve Crow.
Sure.
Rhea Ortner.
Here.
Barb Hart. Andrew Duarte.
Here.
Ron Mitchell. Oh, I see Ron.
Here.
Thank you. Danielle Kraus.
Here.
Steve Roundtree. Catherine Vallon.
Here.
Jonathan Baumhover. Thank you all.
Well, yeah, thanks everyone for making time for special meeting. I guess I want to talk about the Ames Big Springs budget, which
Yep.
basically we need to increase the budget. Um, so we put this out, and I can let Nathan actually.
Well, here, do you mind if I introduce real quick, Andrew, and then you and Nathan can take over? Does that work?
Go ahead, Kate.
All right. So I'll take you through the AIM real quick and then let the subject matter experts jump in. Just a reminder, in September 2021, when we were going through our annual budget process, the board approved a budget for Big Springs parking in the amount of $265,000. It was discussed even at that time that that might not be sufficient and that we would need to maybe make an adjustment once the project went out to bid in early 2022. Well, that's where we are right now. In January 2022, as we discussed in our December and at our January board meetings, the project was put out to bid, and just last week it was closed and 2 bids were received. These are included in the attachments. The lowest qualified bid received that is being discussed is $311,771,000. Oh my goodness. For construction. The Big Springs Committee proposes adding a standard 15% contingency, which is a total of $46,765,065 for unforeseen costs as more inspections and signage or needs may arise, and just we don't know what could potentially come. This will bring the total budget to $358,536,065. This is an increase in the budget of approximately $93,536.65. Given that the reason that we're having this special meeting is to adhere to our timeline, the next step would be contractor acceptance at our meeting. So we need this special meeting today to make sure that before we could accept a contractor bid, that everyone is comfortable with submitting a supplemental budget to town and having that for the increase in the project costs that we're seeing. This, if this is approved this evening, this will be sent to the Board of Trustees for their meeting Tuesday, February 8th. And like I said, the contractor approval will be sought at our regular meeting should you approve the budget increase on February 9th. And now I'll kind of open. And so the question before you all tonight is, does the board approve increasing Big Springs parking budget to $358,536.65 and approve the resolution 2022-11? And a note on the resolution that you're seeing attached is what we would use to request the funds from town. In going over this with town, we realized we also need a special resolution to request a supplemental. And I have reached out to our attorney, and we have a draft of that already that I'm going to be working with town. But since I wasn't able to get it in time to put it into your packet, what we'll need to note in the minutes tonight, if you do approve the project, is that I have your permission to submit the supplemental resolution to the Board of Trustees. And now that I've spread all that out there, I'll open it up for any questions for myself or any of the subject matter experts that you have with you this evening.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, I was hoping just to have Nathan speak real quick to like the number of bidders who requested the plans and the number who attended the pre-bid meeting, and then the number who turned it in, so that everyone could get an idea of how many numbers each of those represent. So Nathan, can you just speak to how many people downloaded the plans, and we're kind of at the initial go around of pre-bid meeting, and then who turned in or how many turned in?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, my name is Nathan Scalig with JVA. So basically, we put the project out to bid right before the Christmas holiday, gave them contractors a few weeks before that period, and then basically the following 3 weeks for the actual bid due date, we had a mandatory pre-bid conference kind of halfway through that. And unfortunately for us, it happened to fall on kind of a snowy day, so we rescheduled. Of that, we received 4 attendees to that meeting. And then on top of that, at the end, I thought we were going to have 3 or 4. It sounded like everybody was interested in the job, but only received 2 bids on bid opening date. This was advertised on Rocky Mountain BidNet and in the local paper. I think we had about 45 folks that at least downloaded the plans. So it was publicly visible out there. It's just that we only received 4 to the mandatory pre-bid and then 2 bidders ultimately.
Awesome. Yeah, so and of those 2 bids, I don't know if anyone's looked at them, but one was about 450,000 and change, and the other one's 311. So the one there is, well, I don't suggest trying to forecast any significant savings right out of the gate. We did discuss the possibility of town, and maybe Emmett can speak to this, but there's an asphalt paving deduct line item in the contractor's proposals where basically they don't, they let town handle the asphalt. And that would be, obviously it would cost money for town to do the paving, but when we last met and discussed with Emmett of Public Works, he made, suggested that town might be able and willing to take it on and be more competitive than the contractor that will be selected. So that, again, it still will cost money. We don't exactly know how much it will cost town if town does elect to do the paving. And I don't suggest changing any amount that we're going for, but I just wanted everyone to know that that's kind of out there in the mix. So Emmett, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I did want to speak to that. Yeah, I was hoping to see Public Works take responsibility for any asphalt that lies within our right of way. So yeah, that's what I wanted to propose. I know we're in a position to do so. We have all the equipment to pave and also stripe. And I think there's a chance that we could save some money on the project. So yeah, I'd like to push for that.
Awesome. Yeah, again, I think we keep, for the sake of this meeting and keeping it simple, we're not adjusting any numbers, but knowing that may be some room for savings. And obviously we're adding in a contingency. We'd like to request and have added in the contingency for that in the budget. So with that, I will pass and open it up for questions.
This is Rhea. I have to say, this is the first time I've really looked at the engineering plans, and I would love just a basic overview. You know, from what I gather, there's gonna be a large buried concrete pipe with several inlets that's going to flow to the west, and hook up to an existing underground pipe. Is that true?
Mhm.
And where is that water going?
Maybe, yeah, I can let Nathan kind of do a quick rundown of the plan if you want to, if we could do
Let
a
me
share
just say
screen.
what-
Sorry.
Yeah, and just my basic concern is that there is an awful lot of groundwater in that area that I've observed every spring. And so I know that there's a bunch of inlets and grates on the surface, but is this also designed to capture any subsurface water that might be present, like a sort of like a French drain? Or is that underground pipe just totally solid the whole way? So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
It's solid. It's not designed to catch underground subsurface water. It's the runoff on big springs coming downhill.
Right. And then I mean, I feel like there's some folks on the board who work right there. And I mean, maybe my concern isn't valid, but it seems like there is probably subsurface water there. Am I incorrect in that?
I'm not super familiar with any groundwater mapping or surveys of, the land right in front of HubNet or the Black Forest. But maybe Nathan, can you speak to like some hydrology or any subsurface investigation that JVA found?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of subsurface in that area, but basically the intent here is we're using the existing road. If you look at the road, and also I have the plans pulled up on my screen, I could share those and kind of talk through it in a little bit more detail if that helps.
Sure. And I think Steve also, since he owns HubNet, was going to mention something too.
Yeah, if I could just chime in real quick before you show us that map, Nathan. From the 80 Big Springs building, when we built it, we, had to excavate, and we did run into one particular big spring on the east side of our building. And we ended up with a hydrologist and all mitigating that by putting a ton of gravel down and having French drains that turn into PVC, 8-inch PVC, I believe, 6 and 8, that ends up emptying out by our east entrance to our building. And so I was thinking, I could certainly talk to people offline on this, but I would think that because this is all funneling from behind our building and it works beautifully, it flows until August most years, that we should tie that into whatever drainage is going in. Because it all comes out of that pipe like pretty hard in the spring and summer.
And there is we do plan to pick up those connections along the way.
Okay.
We have general survey of the hub building, and with the Black Forest building being a new project as well, they're redoing their entire parking lot as well. So, and basically we are just tying into that point.
Okay.
But I agree. If there's any unknown storm under there, I think it would be a great idea to make sure we've got that captured now and make sure it's connected appropriately, or at least find the information. I don't know if there's any old as-built that I might be unaware of that we could take a look and confirm. But during construction, obviously, we'll be out there and monitoring everything and working with the contractors, so we'll be able to make small field adjustments if necessary.
And so one follow-up question. So Steve, all the water that's in that ditch on the side of the road in the springtime, that's all coming out of the drain from behind your building? I don't know, Steve, you might be muted. Or maybe you're offline.
Sorry about that.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Yeah, 1 sec, sorry. So it's early spring, it comes, through the groundwater as well into that ditch. But I would say after the initial runoff, probably all of it is coming through that 6 or 8 inch PVC pipe, and it all comes from behind our building and behind and funnels through very nicely. And that runs most summers, up into August.
I'm not sure if this would address this in any way, but I know because I work right across the street in the shopping center at the clinic, that as it is now, groundwater ends up coming over the road, landing in the parking lot there, which turns into ankle deep slush or ice in winter and quite a deep puddle in summer. So there is ground surface water that's ending up kind of pooling in the low spot, which currently seems to be the shopping center parking right in front of the clinic.
I mean, obviously, our hope would be that having drains and a real true stormwater drain on the south side of the street would take care of a lot of that. I can't guarantee that no water will ever, go up against the side of the the entrance there on
Sure.
the north side of Big Springs, but certainly it's a lot of thought's been given to the plan, and certainly my hope would be that it deals with a lot of that.
That would be nice.
And we're also capturing, the goal here is to capture all the water. There is water coming down Big Springs Road. Some of that crosses the street prior to getting to this point, but we should be able to capture a lot of that groundwater, and we do have inlets in the road as well. And with this too, I know the Village Shopping Center on the other side of the road, we're not touching anything on that side of the road, but we are going to capture the water. At least we're not going to spill everything over to that that side of the road, just because I agree with the way it's set up now. You've got that kind of drainage pan that's basically in the parking bays, and I've seen it fill up with water quite a bit and freeze. So we'll be capturing everything, and then there's basically a storm pipe on the west side of the road that crosses and takes it, in the same path that it would be going, whether it's overland or in a pipe. Would you like me to share that plan?
I would.
Great.
Sure, feel free, please.
Thanks.
Okay. Is everybody seeing that?
There's
And
nothing on the
just dark.
screen right now.
Gray
It just
box.
says viewing.
Sorry, let me try a different way.
Because it said we were viewing your screen. It was just black. There we go.
Alrighty. So we've got Big Springs Road here in the middle. So with Tebow's project going on at the Black Forest building, what they're doing is they're raising the parking lot, and they're putting in a segmental retaining wall. Totally separate project, but we've coordinated with it basically because there will be a sidewalk along the front of this building. And sorry, I'm used to zooming and panning around, so forgive me for the movement here, but basically it just ties in the walkway that already exists in this corner at Bridge Street, provides a sidewalk across the front, and basically in front of the future wall at this facility, little walkway here, and then there'll be concrete paved entrances at both of the connections to this facility. Sidewalk basically dies off here, and there will be a combination of parallel and perpendicular parking along the roadway. So there's not as much right-of-way space in front of the hub. So we've got the space down here, but essentially the road, we're only extending out about 6 feet, and then capturing the storm drainage and putting it, basically directly under where it currently lies in the swale. It is fairly shallow, so we're not really encroaching too deep into the groundwater, and we're not affecting the grade too much in that area, as it, as there's already a lot of parking on the side of the road. It's been relatively developed in terms of that kind of sandy area. So that's basically the project as a whole. Are there any particular questions in regards to the plan?
What about a crosswalk from in front of the Black Forest where there's a sidewalk going? The sidewalk's gonna end before they hit HubNet. So is there gonna be a crosswalk to the north side of the street? What about all the pedestrians that might be, do we need to worry about that, or that's not part of it?
Well, there's currently a crosswalk here at the west end. However,
Okay,
I don't think
we
I don't
need
think we
one.
want to encourage pedestrians walking out into the road at this
Okay.
time. It's a
Okay.
busy intersection. There's a busy roadway already, a lot of vehicles. We want to provide access to get to their vehicles, and maybe in the future, if there's a plan on the other side to provide, a better connectivity, then that would be an option.
And then all the water goes from the east side, manhole or connection, it's gonna flow north underground into that existing pipe. Is that where all the water is going?
Yeah, so over here on the west side of Big Springs Drive, there is an existing culvert that crosses. It collects all the water, basically coming down the road here, and it's currently acting as a collection basin for some of the water in this area. So what we're proposing is basically to collect what overland flow we have here into the pipe, collect what's in the road. So we'll capture everything. Basically, if you see this divided line here, that's where the grade break is. And like I said, instead of sending water directly across into these parking bays, we're going to collect it and convey it to the west side, connect to the existing storm infrastructure in the ground. And this has been all size, and we've run the drainage calcs on it. So it can hold the capacity of what will be coming down the road and then follow the path to the creek.
Nathan, this is Steve Carell again. Do you know, are there any inlets on top of this concrete conduit in front of Tebow's property, the Black Forest and the hub? Because I'm wondering about what about the drain runoff from our properties that is, sheeting in a storm? Will that be collected into that concrete conduit somehow?
Yeah, that's correct. And so that's another big question, because that's something I think is battled a lot with the storm infrastructure in Nederland. There's a lot of fines, a lot of sands on the side of the road that end up, basically being carried by water into the inlets and the storm pipe. And so with this attempt here, what we've done is basically at these entrances, knowing that water is going to be flowing out of them, we've got trench drains proposed at the low point in front of each drive. So these trench drains here, and I can go over to trench drain detail. So commonly what you see, the removable grates, traffic rated removable grates. So all the water can collect there. It won't be overland flow, it'll be collected there and then conveyed into the storm system. This also gives an opportunity to remove the grates and remove the sand from the system so that it's not going into the storm drain as well. So this was something I worked with on the town. This is what their preferred approach was to these driveway entrances, knowing that we will get a lot of runoff from those parking lots.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Just a quick mention for Rhea. One of the reasons that we didn't put a pedestrian crosswalk there is it would be in CDOT right away, and this project is entirely out of CDOT's right away. And if we had included that in the project, probably would have taken another 2 years.
Any other questions from board members?
I have one more. This is Steve Carell. I was wondering, in front of Hub Ned, will it just, what would be will that be asphalt over like in front of the rock wall that's out there now? Would that be asphalt over the storm drain, or what is, I didn't see the detail, I'm sorry.
For which storm drain? Are you referring to the main one in the road, or?
Yeah,
Um,
that the main one that runs east-west there, and where it's in front of the Hub Ned building, because currently we just have an open, open drain there. So I didn't know if that's going to be asphalt up to the rock wall that's existing.
Yeah, so that's the reason why we're only able to fit parallel parking in this area, because it is tight against the rock wall. You can see here, this wall
Okay,
kind of extends out. So we're coming right up to the edge. There'll be a curb and gutter, and then we'll just grade back to the rock wall, but no plan to adjust or move that.
okay,
This storm pipe will be obviously excavated below it, on the edge of it, but basically in the ditch line that currently exists now. So they'll basically replace the storm drainage in the same location.
okay. Thanks. I guess one other question is, do you all have a sense from the preferred bidder, what the timeline looks like for the project?
We haven't spoken in depth with the bidder at this point, but we did receive a little bit of information. I don't know if it's been shared with everybody, but we received a schedule of values that kind of breaks down the cost as a whole. The contract documents, basically, I think it stated 120 days to complete the project to substantial completion, and then another 60 days to go to final completion. That would be, substantial being things are 95 to 99% done. We're doing punch walk, catching the loose ends. So that gives them about 4 months. I think that's very generous. I think this is realistically a 2 to 3 month project. And I think it'll go pretty quickly. And I guess timeline at that point is dependent on weather. We've requested that contractors hold their pricing until, or at least, or the planned schedule is to hold until April, or as weather allows for. So we have flexibility in there. It was part of the bidding documents, so I assume that was all accounted for. But hopefully it'll take off when weather permits, April, May period, and then be done early into the summer.
Thank you.
I have another question, but I don't want to butt in front of somebody else who hasn't spoken yet.
Okay.
This is a really substantial price increase, and I think I just owe it to our constituents to ask, is there any cost savings we can do in the existing plan? Like, what about, do we really need a sidewalk there? How much, not looking at the bid documents in front of me, so I'm not sure how much the sidewalk costs. I mean, certainly this is a very expensive parking project, mainly because from what I gather, it's this big sewer pipe that we have to bury. Or should we reopen the bid and let those other two companies that attended the pre-bid meeting to bid, and it seems like we maybe still have time to do that. And I do understand materials have gone up, but it's quite a lot of money in my mind. So I'm just looking for suggestions from all you professionals that do this kind of thing. What you think?
That was kind of going along. My question was, how did we come up with our original estimate of what we thought it was going to cost, like less than 6 months ago? And how did we get it that far wrong?
So I
Well,
will answer quickly about our budget. Catherine's question or comment about how did we, so we were really at that point in September guesstimating a lot with that 256 number. That's why I mentioned in the aim that we knew it might need an adjustment because we just didn't have a good feeling. So I just wanted to address that part, that's kind of how that conversation evolved during our budget conversation in September, because we were so dependent on the bid and that. And so I'll turn it over to everyone else, but I just wanted to address that about how we came up with the number in September.
Thank you.
yeah, as far as opening up for bid again, I appreciate your question, Rhea. As far as opening it up for bid again, I don't know if we'd be looking at getting a whole lot other people bidding. We might, but I think from a timing perspective, we talked about it a little bit, but just if it, you know, since the current, you know, bid that the apparent low bid is, you know, open to the public, you know, wouldn't necessarily be that fair to that company to put it out to bid again when their numbers are open for everyone to see and have other people come bid against them. You know, the other bid was like 450 something. And out of, you know, as Nathan mentioned, 40 plus people downloaded the plans. You know, we had 4 serious people looking at it, and out of those, only 2 were able to put together bids. And so I think, I don't know, I'm there's sometimes I'm like, I feel we're pretty lucky to have, you know, a qualified bidder in the running, because it's not like miles and miles of one thing or another. So it only attracts you know, a certain size contractor. And I think there's a lot of stuff, you know, the market right now, there's a lot of stuff going on all over. Just my personal sense is, you know, we're probably not going to get, you know, massive measurable savings by trying to put it out back to bid. And in fact, we may lose the opportunity with the current, you know, price we've got now and end up with, you know, multiple bids that are higher than what we're dealing with now. But certainly it's something we could, you know, do. I don't think we're going to see tremendous savings because we've got, you know, a bit of definitely a stormwater project, and you know, a paving project and a sidewalk and parking project. Those 3 things, and then, you know, general conditions and contractor costs. And I don't.
How much, if Emmett is able to do the paving and striping, I'm curious about how much that would take off the bottom line. I'm not looking at the budget in front of me, so, or the bids.
Well, the paving company had about 45,000 in there, and so if, you know, Emmett can do it for less, you know, but it's still going to cost money. You can think about what that delta might be, Emmett. Like, do you think maybe 10% savings, 20%? What were you thinking?
Well, I'd have to better understand the area to be paved. If we're just paving, you know, a 9x18 strip for parking, or if it's extending out into the road. Those are some details I would need to properly calculate what it would cost.
Okay.
But yeah, I think there's a chance that we could do it for less. But I just need some more specifics on the scope of the job.
So that raises a question to me. Do you think there's also a chance that it would end up costing more to have gone through the town, or is it'll cost no more or it will cost less, kind of a situation?
Yeah, I think more than likely it would end up costing less. And again, I would need the dimensions to properly calculate the cost. But I think it would cost less to do it in-house. And yeah,
I like the idea. I like the idea of keeping it in-house. You guys maintain the roads, you know what you're going to have to deal with, and you're invested in doing it right. And so I would prefer to see the town do it. Also, too, I feel more comfortable that if we were in a position where we couldn't get hard and fast numbers when the original, what we guesstimated this was going to cost, if we were just kind of doing our best to guess in parts of it and couldn't get hard and fast numbers, then it's easy to see how we were off by maybe 20% and everything. And so that makes me feel more comfortable that, okay, here's where these bids have come in. And, I think Andrew makes a good point as far as, there's a lot of construction going on. The timeline could be tight for kind of tying somebody down to get them to accept the bid and not be pushed off for another year or two until somebody comes available again, because this is when they book for the year. So if we're going to move on this, I, of course don't like that it's 20% higher than we hoped it was going to be, but I can kind of see how we got there. And it seems like it is mostly a case of we couldn't get the numbers we needed to get an accurate guess, a few months ago. And now we're working with numbers that are real.
It's Ron Mitchell. I'd like to make a general comment here. We're probably going to have other projects of this nature in the future. And one of the things you all should know is that if you open bids and it's public and your lowest bidder doesn't get the job and you put it out for bid again, this in the industry is called shopping the bid. And once you've done that, you will lose a substantial number of bidders because they don't want to go to all the work of trying to bid it at what the project was offered at, and then have someone go and try and get other bidders a second time to undercut them. It's very, very dangerous to try and do something like that as a public entity. That's all.
John? Any other questions or comments from the board?
This is Danielle Kraus. There was the question on whether we needed the sidewalk or not. Is there a possibility of leaving room for that to cut costs for now and visiting it later? But I do think that working with wayfinding coming up, maintaining and creating sidewalks is important. And if it just works better to include it in the project and have it all done, that makes more sense and seems worthwhile. But I do think that was a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just give my 2 cents on that, is that I think the sidewalk is not just a standalone sidewalk. It's kind of part of it is curb and gutter. Yeah, there is additional concrete involved that you wouldn't necessarily need, but I'm just thinking, there's a plan done. If we would still need the curb and gutter, and if there's no sidewalk there, I don't know, and the idea being save money, don't put a hard surface treatment down, no asphalt, no concrete, then what do we put there? And are we worried then about silt and sand and sediment? I think, yeah, unfortunately it costs more, and it is, a big outlay, but just doing this now and getting it done, to me, makes the most sense. I don't know how but kind of if were we to deduct the sidewalk, what we would deal with in the short term, and then if it ever would, be anything that would come up on the agenda to do in the future, and I don't know, maybe Nathan, you've got some other thoughts that I'm not thinking of from, through the lens of civil.
There's always a host of options out there, but I guess it depends on, the future intent of the project on behalf of the town and the DDA. I think ultimately, we could go back to the contractor if we choose to, or if they're chosen to continue with the project and request some value engineering items. That's our way of just basically asking them where they can cut costs, what could be removed, and then get some suggestions from them too. However, I will say we have a pretty detailed schedule of values as well, so we can see what all those individual costs are, if that is of interest to folks.
So that schedule of values is an attachment tonight. It is the second document under the aim.
Great.
If you
Yeah, and
wanted to look at that.
yeah, that'll probably
Anybody
answer a
else?
lot of cost questions. They broke it down pretty well, and that was just requested last week. So that was kind of our first attempt to understanding the actual cost of the project. And from there, we could ask them to provide some alternatives as well, or look through it and select areas where that might not be feasible at this particular time. But I will say, it will be more challenging to come back at a later date, and it would probably be more costly to come back at a later date to add these things. So as one package, they usually work pretty seamless, and it works well with the warranty. You've got one contractor responsible for all of these things working together, and instead of others potentially, finding existing conditions and stuff like that. So just something to consider.
Thanks. So Danielle, I don't know if that directly answered your question, but I'm
That was
looking at
wonderful. Thank
the
you.
breakdown. Yeah, there is a standalone sidewalk portion that's 17,000, but the various other, stretches of concrete where it's at the trench drain or cross pan or curb ramp, those are each their own thing. So it's kind of more integral, I think. Sidewalks just more integrated with all the drainage than a standalone thing, but
Yeah, it makes sense to include it all in one package. It was just nice to hear that and think about it. So thank you very much.
This value package, or where is that in the aim? I'm sorry, I can't find it.
It's the second document. Here, let me see if I can. It says Big Springs Drive Project Manual Bid Documents. And it's a spreadsheet. I'm trying to see if I can.
So this is included in the price we're talking about, or not?
Which are you
Yeah,
is?
Sorry, I was looking at the sidewalk and parking bid improvements bid proposal.
Yep, that's exactly it. You want the bid proposal.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
has the
proposal,
values.
not the bid document. So
It
this
says
has
the bid
their
proposal.
Yeah, this has their breakdowns, and the sidewalk is included in their price.
I'll share my screen again.
I was
real
going to say,
quickly.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble trying to get my screen to share, but yeah, this is a document that we're referencing.
Yep. So this is from the contractor. The contractor is Edge Contracting. This is their schedule of values and the breakdown. So you can see they've done a pretty good job capturing all the divisions of this particular project, everything from the general conditions, erosion and sediment control during the project, the demo and earthwork, required storm sewer, and the bid alternates that we talked about as well. So I would, definitely suggest looking through this and kind of looking at the pricing. From my perspective, this seems fairly comparable to what projects, what pricing is looking like right now. I mean, it's a busy market out there. Contractors are very busy these days. This is a trip for some to come into the mountains. So there is a little additional cost on top of that. That increases the cost of everything from asphalt to concrete, and depending on their suppliers, which they also provided that information in their bid package as to where some of these sources are being sourced. But anyways, yeah, it's a pretty detailed breakdown, and then basically the deduct would be, there's a difference between removal of the asphalt, which was basically $55,000, but there is kind of a gravel placement replace cost in there that would be associated. So it comes out to the $45,000 difference if the asphalt is removed, and that final number then is the 266.
So again, I think if we vote to move forward with this, like the hope that over the next, month, Emmett can, we can give Emmett clarity on areas of needing pavement, and he can let us know whether town can keep it in-house or not, and makes more sense from a cost perspective. That's why, just keeping the number, the total bid, knowing that pavement's going to cost something one way or the other. Other questions?
Yeah, I'd say just continue to coordinate with me on the scope of the project as far as the area to be paved and yeah, anything along those lines. And with that, I'll be able to come up with a projected cost.
Yeah.
I would like to present the motion if there's no other questions from anyone.
So do we have to do public comment first?
Oh, all right, go ahead.
All right, I guess
Public comment.
Any public comment? Seeing none, hearing none. Ron, you want to make that motion?
I move that we apply to the Board of Trustees for approval of the stated amount and the documents, and that we accept the contractor with the 310,000 approximate bid.
Second.
Okay. So just to clarify, we will be accepting the contractor at our February 9th meeting, that this is just about the amount right now. And I'll do the roll call. And
Okay.
Steve Carreau,
Yes.
Rhea Ortner,
Yes.
Barb Hart.
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Andrew Duarte,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for the presentation. I thought that was nice.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much to Nathan for being here with us tonight to walk through it. We really appreciate that very much.
No problem.
Yeah, that was helpful.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Now, motion to adjourn.
Oh, yeah. Also, I do want to call out. Oh, wait, hold on. I want to call out one thing. I would like a motion to submit the supplemental to the Board of Trustees, just to be really clear on that, because we do have to submit a separate document from the resolution that you saw as part of your packet. And so I just want to make sure that that's really clear.
You when you say supplemental, you mean the schedule of values?
No, it's the supplemental budget is what it's called. That's what we have to do to encumber more funding for the project, because it was not in our budget. So that's why it's a specific item that we're looking for.
Okay.
So I'm just looking for a motion to submit a supplemental budget resolution to the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
So moved.
Does that work? Second.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then, yes, we need a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Don't we need a vote on that motion?
Oh, yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Yes, you do need to vote on that. So now I'll call the roll call. Steve Carreau.
Yes.
Rhea Ortner,
Yes.
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Andrew Duarte,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon.
Yes.
Thank you all. I'm glad none of you had hung up yet. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Well, wait, we got to do the motion to adjourn now. Now
Let's
we're
adjourn. All right. Sorry. I got ahead of myself there.
Make a motion to adjourn.
all right. Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you all.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.